Waiting for my slides. Good morning. My name is Lynn Miller. I am from Jackson, Mississippi, and this is part of the smallest unit of my tribe of Presbyterian women. The congregation from which we spring, Fondren Presbyterian Church in Jackson, calls us the semicircle. Because we're sort of a circle, but sort of not. We tend to send messages and take pictures and have really good dinners when we get together for Bible study. These women are funny and irreverent. They are foodies and dog lovers, and above all, they are supportive. When I told them I would be writing the 2020, it's the worst years ever, the 2020-2021 Bible study, they were ecstatic. And when I told them the topic, they looked at me blankly. And then one of them bravely said, "So essentially we're going to be depressed for an entire year." Thanks, Lynn. Certainly the study topic grew out of sadness. My Christmas of 2015, Christmas Eve, was spent getting my dad set up for home hospice. He died 3 weeks later in January of 2016. This is him a month or so before that with our 11-year-old collie, Sandy, who was the child of my father's old age. Dad is eating a piece of cake, and Sandy is hoping to eat a piece of cake, or at least the crumbs that fall from the table. Sandy and Daddy were together in death as in life. Several months after Dad's death, we had to have Sandy put to sleep. In the meantime, there were 2 surgeries for my mom, one of which we were told would discover ovarian cancer. It turned out not to be, but even as we celebrated that, my 30-year-old niece was diagnosed with breast cancer. To paraphrase Queen Elizabeth, 2016 is not a year on which I will look back with undiluted pleasure. You may have had years like that too, hard years filled with questioning and adjusting and feeling and adjusting some more and feeling some more and questioning some more. What do you say to God in years like that? The biblical answer is, you lament. And that is the subject of the 2020-2021 Bible study. The theory and practice of lament. I think if you asked most people, they would equate lament and grief. Those 2 things share some qualities, but they aren't exactly the same thing. My tribe wondered if I was going to plunge PW into a year of this. But what I found is that in lament, there is just as much this. People expect wailing women to do this. But those women of whom Jeremiah wrote, those women who led the nation in lament and mourning, those women were really this. Lament looks and speaks honestly about this. It's a real thing, this picture. But the purpose of lament at its heart is really about this. Just look at the world in which we live today. What do we do about those things in our world that cannot possibly be aligned with God's will and purpose for this world? Rather than spending our energy name-calling and vilifying one another on social media, I would offer lament as a theological response. The study, given the working title, "To You They Cried, Reclaiming Lament," has been developed based on my tribe's preferences. They like interaction with the text, and they prefer it straight on. Each lesson engages both text from both Hebrew and Christian scriptures. The study will also include the practice of lament. Now, full disclosure, that's not my tribe, that's me. When I do things like that, they just look at me and say, "Why do you make us do these things?" But learning about lament is not the same as learning to lament. And our world is in enough of a state that I think we need to practice lament just a little bit more. The study won't tell you exactly what to lament. It invites you to look at your life and the world as you see it and bring to God those things that you find lamentable, individually and communally, with your study group, with your PW groups at all levels, and with Christ's church as a whole. My earlier question was what you say to God in years that are hard. And I think the thing that you have to remember in that sentence is say to God. Lament is addressed to God, and that makes it prayer. The 2020 study will, I hope, help us better understand this way of talking to God when we find ourselves facing life situations where God seems to be absent. Psalm 137 begins with the captives pledging to hang up their lyres on the willows and stop singing the Lord's song. They can't sing the Lord's song, they say, because God is far away in Jerusalem, not with them in Babylon. But ultimately, the captives do sing. They simply learn a new song for the world they're living in. It's a song of lament, and it brings them closer to the God who had seemed so far away. My prayer is that our Bible study together in those years will help us learn to sing a song that we can sing to our world here and now. Thank you.